So, um, how to start today?
Uh,
Uh, Matt and I have been talking for the last 4 or 5 days. We've had a tremendous amount of offline conversations with agents in the company, with staff, employees, and trying to figure out how do we address what's going on. We've been addressing current events, quite honestly, for the last couple months, with one main topic being the pandemic. And then things quickly turned. And obviously, there is a huge new focus right now of what's going on. And there was there's the question of, do we address it at all? We're a real estate company. Do we say anything, at all? Or if we say it, do we say the wrong thing? Matt and I, as you guys know, are fairly transparent. And so we know we're going to mess up today, to be totally honest with you. We've tried to do as much research as we could, try to talk to as many people as possible. And so we thought the best thing to do was just to speak from the heart, tell you where we're both at, and tell you where we are as a company and why we're doing this talk today, why we're going to say what we're going to say today. So the first thing is, what are we thinking right now? This is me now, Daryl, talking. I'm scared. I'm afraid of saying the wrong thing, quite honestly. I'm afraid that we'll say too much for some of you, and for others, we won't say enough. I'm worried that people won't take the time to listen, that people will not open their ears to what's going on out there. But despite that fear, despite that, worry, we have to move forward. The second question is, why would we do this? Again, we're a real estate company. We really don't need to, Daryl, you and Matt aren't that smart. You're not the experts in race relations. We certainly are not. We don't claim to be. But the why to us, there's a couple simple reasons. Number one is, for years, we have trained and taught on how to be financially sound in your business, how to work on your database, how to post on social media, even physical fitness, how to have a quality of life and manage your time. So to address an issue like race relations, and not only how it can affect your business, but your life, to be quite honest, why not? Why wouldn't we touch this subject? For me, most importantly, the why, and I'm going to say this a couple times today, where something hit me, and some of you might go, gosh, how did you not know that, Daryl? Well, as I admitted from the beginning, I'm not an expert at this. But something happened the last couple of days that was the big why for me. And I won't, name names, nothing that they did anything wrong, but I had 2 employees who texted me or emailed me and said, thank you so much for posting on social media the following thing. I was afraid to do anything until I saw you do it first. And that really took me by surprise, because I thought, again, I'm not trying to lift Matt and I up as like these ultimate leaders. On the contrary, we didn't realize that we actually had people that were waiting for us before they felt comfortable doing it. And that's the biggest why of even bringing this up today, because if we have people that won't speak their mind or are afraid to, because they feel like, well, Daryl might get mad, Matt might get mad, that might hurt the company or something like that, and that can't happen. And so that's the main reason, quite honestly, that Matt and I have to address the company, because if we have people that are worried or feeling like I can't say something because it could hurt them, and they need to hear from us first, that's exactly why we're doing this. The next thing is, so what topics are we going to cover? And this is where, again, it starts to get controversial and people will get upset with me. And I'm going to kind of set some ground rules here first, hopefully. And if you don't like the ground rules, this is one of those ones, well, you have your own Facebook page, you can set your own Zoom meeting. Today will be Matt and I's. But the ground rules are this. Number one, we still have a chat box. We thought about closing the chat box down because we were worried, would people start to comment? Could there be like some fights going on the screen, or people, not hearing each other out? And we chose not to. What we're asking you to do is this, though. If you feel strongly in support of something that is being said and you want to say, hey, amen, or yeah, or something like that, great. We don't want to stop that. If you have a question, if you have a concern, the chat box is not going to create a great discussion. Matt and I are always available. If there is a concern you have and you want it to be discussed, send Matt and I an email, send us a text, call us on the phone. We're always available. We will buy. We'll take you to coffee. We'll take you to lunch. We will sit down and listen to what you have to say, why you feel that way, and make a decision on if that's something that needs to be addressed in the future as well. We're very open to that. But we also feel like the chat box is there's so much room for misunderstandings and things not going right in there. So that's kind of our rules for the day. I'm going to address the major issues of the day, and then Matt at the end here is going to take over and really show us some really, how we can move forward. So topics that I wanted to talk about first, just to kind of, okay, what are we, covering? Some of you are going to say, Daryl, why didn't you spend as much time talking about the looting or the rioting? Because I'm going to focus it on the injustice that is going on. And you're going to say, why aren't you focusing on the looting and the rioting? And I'll tell you why. It's because of our audience. I don't believe, and Matt doesn't believe, that there's anybody on this call right now that looted, crashed windows, or rioted in the last 4 or 5 days. There are people on here who've protested, probably. There are people on here that have posted, but I don't need to tell you that looting and rioting is wrong. Okay, nobody here does that, so it's not important right now, quite honestly. That doesn't mean I'm for it. It doesn't mean I'm for lawlessness. It's not the important topic right now. Second is, I think some people are going to say, why didn't you cover like police supporting law enforcement as much as you talked about the death of George Floyd? First and foremost, if there's any question, again, check with me offline. I have a little sister whose husband, David, is a Placer County sheriff. My wife, Monica's brother, Judd, is a Placer County sheriff. Uncle Judd is the world to my son and my daughter. He doesn't have kids of his own. He treats them like his own. I support law enforcement 100%. At the same time, that's not the issue right now. I don't believe that's the important issue to talk about. They have support, maybe not everywhere, but that's not the main issue that needs to be discussed today. When I look at this and say, okay, so going back to why are we going to discuss the main things hitting us today, the topic is because we don't have people on this call that are looting. But what we do have, and I know because I've had conversations in the last 4 or 5 days, is I think we do have people on this call who don't understand what's going on. I know that because I've had conversations and listened and thought, wow, this is a bigger problem than I thought. We're not going to be able to cover everything today. We're not going to go through just one call and say, that's it, we did our part, hey, we addressed people on that Wednesday. We have other ideas, other thoughts, things we're going to work on to try to move through this and to address a lot of issues. And so don't expect us to solve this all today. But I wanted to go through 4 main points that I think are going on out there and where Matt and I believe, what we believe is right, what we believe this company should stand for, and how we should be training or teaching you or trying to show you how to, look at these things. The first thing I want to do, I'm going to share a picture with you that this goes, some of you probably have seen this picture, and it goes to my first point that I was taught a long time ago that, this thing about equality versus equity. I was taught a long time ago that, you treat people equally by treating each person the way they deserve to be treated. That's not equal treatment. And that's a big, I found, over the last 4 days talking to people, that a lot of everything has to be equal. No, it does not. Why did I put this picture up? Why did I talk about you treat people equally by treating each person the way they deserve to be treated? Because one of the biggest misunderstandings out there right now. And again, I know there's people that are going to be upset for me saying this, but one of the biggest misunderstandings is this issue of saying things like all lives matter when somebody says Black Lives Matter. And I know people, very good friends, who will say that statement. And I try to, this whole issue is about this part right now. When somebody says Black Lives Matter, they are not saying that nobody else's lives matter. Okay. It is the issue at hand today. It's the issue. It's the people that need to be supported today. And again, some of you are going to be mad that I said, no, Daryl, that's not equal. That's not right. That's divisive. I'm sorry. It's not. We have to acknowledge that that's all that is. That's all that statement is saying, this is what we're talking about right now. This is what we're discussing right now. And when you, the reason I bring this up, because it's supposed to be a teaching call. If you want to know why people are upset, if you post something, if you put something up or you say something like all lives matter, I'm letting you know it's insensitive. It's insensitive to those people. Okay. And that's what they want you to hear. Bringing that to the next point of social media and posting, because I've heard a lot of people say, well, it doesn't matter. I get in trouble for this. I get in trouble for that. You don't really get in trouble. I want to give you some rules out there that we feel, after talking to a lot of people, are very relevant. Number one is, it really is okay if you don't post anything. Don't feel like you're being bullied into posting something that's politically correct for the day. I don't think that anybody in their right mind will be upset if you don't post something. But you'll notice what I put on the screen is, it's okay to post nothing if you never post in the first place. Most of us know Matt and I joke, Matt never posts on Facebook, okay? So please don't get upset with Matt because Matt didn't post something yesterday, about the blackout. Matt never posts on Facebook, okay? But if you post often, you reveal what you're passionate about. And what your posts, look at what do they say about your passions? And that can be insensitive. That can tell somebody, hey, listen, you posted about the bake sale. You posted about kids' sports. You posted about them taking away your rights to go shopping at the Walmart. All of these things are really important to you. But then you didn't post about George Floyd, or you didn't post about social injustices going on. Some of you right away are going to say, are you telling me, Daryl, I got to post about everything? No, but you are in business. People do watch what you do. And it would be completely just blind to not realize that when you post a couple things and then not another, of what it looks like. And one of the best things you can do here, if let somebody who believes on the other side, let them look at your Facebook feed and then listen to them. Say, hey, this is what I see. This is what it looks like to me. Be open to hearing what they say about what you've posted on there, because you want to make sure that you're not coming off as, you know what, you seem like you're more passionate about windows being broken than you are about lives being taken, right? That's an important key point that's out there right now. I think, the next point is this: don't minimalize the situation. And that kind of goes to the comments or the topic of a few bad apples. Like I said before, I have loved ones in law enforcement. Many of you do too. I support them to the end of time. But when somebody tells you something bad happened and you say, yeah, there are a few bad apples, that is a statement that minimalizes the situation. It minimalizes the hurt that's going on. And it makes it sound like it's not as big of a problem as it is. So if you're upset, when people go, why did they get upset about that? When I said that, this is why. I personally, and I don't know that this is the same for everybody, but I do it myself. I minimalize situations generally when I'm ashamed that they happen, when I'm upset that they happen, because it's hard to admit that bad things are happening. And so we try to scrape them under the rug and move on because we don't want to believe those things are happening. And I think a lot of us are ashamed that they're happening. But look at that situation and say, okay, right now, today is not the time to minimize the situation. And then I look to the other side and say, okay, if you really look at this, I'm going to, be black and white here. Those first 4 items are really kind of what we as white, Caucasian, whatever you want to say, it's what we can do or not do in those situations. And then I thought long and hard, do I put this 5th one in? Because if people are going to be like, are you really going to tell me what to do, Daryl? You're going to tell a black person what to do now? And I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm going to ask you something, because several of you have done this in the last 4 or 5 days with me, and it's been awesome, which is you can listen and be a good teacher. Let somebody ask you and say, hey, why does it upset you if I say all lives matter? Don't get angry. Don't yell at them. Be a good teacher. I know this sounds simple, but it's a little bit like if a math teacher, if a kid comes up and says, I don't understand how to do fractions, and they scream at him and say, well, you're really stupid. You should know how to do fractions. I can't believe you don't know how to do them. The kid's not going to learn to do fractions. And the fact of the matter is there's a lot of us on this call, a lot of us in this world that don't truly understand what it is you're going through. And if we take the opportunity to ask, be a good teacher, listen, talk to us, tell us how, and then we need to listen. We absolutely do. And I think that's the thing I want everybody to take away from this today, is that stop for the next week, the next month, next year, whatever it is. Stop trying to get your point across on Facebook. Stop trying to make your statement. Listen, just listen to the other side and listen to what they're saying without the intent of responding to them, just to listen, just to hear. I know for Matt and I, having conversations that we've had over the last 4 or 5 days, there's been a lot of insight, a lot of people saying stuff that I went, wow, I didn't realize that. And then there's other stuff I realized, but I didn't realize how many other people didn't realize that. As we kind of segue into Matt, I want to, we're going to talk about moving forward, not moving on. And I want to make a very clear point about that. Moving on, we're not moving on past this, no big deal, let's get on to the next topic. No, this is not going away. Moving forward is different than moving on, because I think a lot of us are stuck right now from everything that's going on in the world. And so we want to make sure that we're clear when we say we are talking about right now about moving forward, not moving on. Matt, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think that this is one of those really, really challenging discussions, but one of those discussions that has to be had, and probably discussions that should be happening far more regularly than they do. It's in true Rogers and Cord fashion here. Daryl has no idea what I'm going to say. I didn't really have a clear idea what he was going to say, but I think that speaks to some of the things that I'm going to talk about now. We have gone through, 90 days worth of chaos and fear, and we have hit yet another pinnacle of just frustration and anger and despair. And I, having discussions with my 2 young boys, and talking to my wife about it, and I find that there's so much of this where I go from one end of the spectrum of just being so angry and so frustrated to the other side of being just depressed and disappointed and let down. But I realized that in this circumstance, there actually is an opportunity here. I think events like this happen. They don't happen regularly. I wish they didn't happen at all, but they do happen. And the way I compartmentalize this, and the way I'm going to try to share it with you guys going forward, is I think the world from time to time tries to reshape itself. And I think this is one of those times where we are being pushed and pressed into hard, difficult, uncomfortable work. But we have an opportunity and we have a voice as to how this world reshapes itself. And I think there's 3 components that stand out to me as we do this. And I talked with our leadership group about this a little bit, and it was actually more tailored to what they do in their job every day. But I want to sort of expand this to how we can potentially take stock of what's going on right now, process this in the best possible way that we can, and then see what we can do coming out the other side. I think there's three really huge components, at least for me, at least that matter the most for me. And they are, first one is authenticity. Daryl talked a little bit about Facebook and the fact that I don't post anything ever. And the craziest thing is I've got a Facebook account and I've got an Instagram account that have never had any input from me at all, which is bizarre. But it actually speaks to some degree of this authenticity. And I know that this is my own bias and I've got to get through this, but I so dearly love face-to-face conversations with people. I so much enjoy the engagement with people, whether it's one-on-one or smaller groups, or getting in front of our group as a company. And I love that because I feel like we get to this authenticity that is the true us, really what we want and where we want to go and what we're interested in. And I love that. And what bothered me ages ago on Facebook is I felt like people were showing me the version of them that they wanted me to see, and it wasn't authentic. And it bothered me. So I kind of rebelled from that, and I've never gone back to it. And I know it's wrong because I think there are plenty of people that are very authentic on there. But here's my push to all of us. I think we operate in a world where we go out there and we're actually overly cautious of who we are and what we do, and we kind of put the best face forward that we think the people we're interacting with want to see. And I'm asking you to stop doing that. I'm asking you to get so true with who you are and what your beliefs are, and the most authentic version of you. Because here's what I think happens. When people know who you really are and what you're about and what you believe in, that's when the trust comes. That's when people are open to what you have to say. And look, if there are people that rebel from your authenticity, if they don't like who you are at your core, let them go. Because you will attract 10 more people who are so enamored of you being you that they will be in your friend circle and they will be the tightest group ever. But I think if we can all get to a point where we are practicing being our true selves, it improves your friendships, it improves your work, it improves your relationships. If we can get to this point of not being apologetic for who we are, if we can get to a point where we know exactly what we stand for, what we will tolerate and what we won't tolerate, I think we all become stronger people because of it. I think the second thing that we all need to do is we need to start doing the uncomfortable work. And I think the uncomfortable work for all of us is taking a look in the mirror and making sure that every day we are trying to work on the best version of us. If we don't come out the other side of this pandemic, of this yet again glaring view of social injustice, and we are not working on how we can be a better spouse, a better parent, a better neighbor, a better friend, a better coworker, we have missed such a massive opportunity. We have got to do a little bit every day to make sure that we're trying to be the best version of us every day. Because here's what happens. If you're working on you, it allows you to be a better you in front of other people. It goes to Daryl's point of being a great teacher, right? Being understanding and tolerant. But that comes from being really connected with you being the best version of you. And that is hard work. It is hard work to look in the mirror and go, what am I responsible for? What am I accountable for? Am I being the best version of me every day? Did I let myself down or let anybody else down today? And it will happen. But I promise you, if you were trying every day to be the best version of you, you are going to see that you're just one person that has a massive impact on a lot of people. And that can't be overlooked. I think sometimes when we get into environments that are this strained and this chaotic, you think, I'm just one person, what can I do? You'd be amazed at the impact that one person has. And for everybody that is on this call together, for all of us to really be working on the best versions of us all the time, we impact massive amounts of people. The community grows exponentially, and you are doing the good work. You are fighting the good fight. I think my last point on all of this is I want us to try to stay curious. I want us to stay inclusive. I want us to embrace all people and all ideas. I think when we look back 90 days ago, everything that has happened up to now has been to push us further and further apart. And it becomes really isolating and it becomes really, really challenging. But I think right now, I think we all need more care, more understanding, more love than we've ever needed before. And it's now time when you pass somebody on the street and you're 6 feet apart and maybe you're not wearing a mask. Now's the time for a smile and a wave, right? Now is the time to make sure that you're doing all the things that are necessary to be connected to everybody else, because we need that now. I know this feels a little preachy and a little soapbox, but my real belief is that we have got something unique and special in this company and with this group of people. And I say it all the time where I'm like, hey guys, we love you. We do. There is not one person we don't want to see succeed and live out their dreams the way they can. And we are here to help in whatever capacity it is. But I'm asking you to help other people fulfill their wishes, overcome struggles, make sure that you are embracing everybody and everything in the best possible way with open ears and understanding. There's an opportunity in the midst of this chaos that really is going to drive some people the wrong end of the spectrum and some people to the right end. But we've got an opportunity as a group, as a company, as a family, to do something uniquely special and come out the other side of this better people than we were when we went in, with really helping shape the direction of the world. That's all I got.
I think so moving forward again, this isn't, the last time, right? It's not like, okay, we addressed this. There, just so you guys know, and I see a couple of comments in there, we are already having discussions with people in the company to ask, what can we do differently? What are we as a company, how can we create awareness? How can we do more? And so one of the things we want to ask all of you for is give us some time, be patient, but understand that we hear you. Matt and I, like I said, are very open. We would love to sit down. We think that's where, like Matt said, the face-to-face conversations are where we're finding out more. And we have some ideas for things we can do on future calls that we think are going to be very enlightening for a lot of people and that are really going to help us. But we're open to more ideas. We're open to more thoughts of what we can do. This isn't just going to go away. And yet at the same time, though, we also have to, this is the part, it's not to be insensitive, but we have to move forward. We can't be frozen. In our talks, that's something I think Matt and I have both found. There's a lot of you are frozen right now. You're not getting up. You're not moving on. You're not finding work to do or things to do. And that's dangerous. Like Matt said, if working on the best part of you, it doesn't have to be your real estate business, but there's a lot of you, I think, that are going to be upset or going to be in a financial bind if you don't start with little steps right now and get moving. You're gonna be waking up in 60 days and go, wow, I'm in trouble because I let all of the things going on in the world today, I let it kind of freeze me. And so we're gonna have a lot of focus on that as well. To that point, and again, we don't want to, hey, that's great, now let's move on, let's talk real estate. But we do want to be able to continue to function in our real estate world. Today, Elias is going to be doing his top producer panel in Basecamp. It's from 1 to 2. He's got a great group of top producers on there today. And we'd love to have you guys all tune in to that Zoom call with Elias. Listen to how these top producers are tackling this market right now, what they're doing to get better, what they're doing to expand their business right now. We hope that you guys understand we're not going to stop training. We're not going to stop putting stuff out there because, the world has all these issues going on. But instead, we're going to try to integrate into those trainings. We're going to try to integrate into our talks how to address those things and still move forward. That's all I got, Matt. You got anything else?
No, it's funny. I debated sharing this one here because I don't want this to feel like a shameless plug for BHG. Like, oh my God, you look at how great the company is that you're aligned with. But as I've been going through this, one of the things for me, certainly around authenticity is who you're aligned with and what you're doing. And I was just going to read really quickly the core values of BHG, which I have seen forever and never taken tons of stock in it. And for whatever reason, I looked at it yesterday and felt like, wow, does this resonate? So everybody knows that it's Page, but I don't know if you've ever seen it defined. Shelly just showed it up there. The P is for passion, and the definition for it: to stimulate energy to a higher level of inspiration and emotion. Authenticity: be exactly what we claim to be. Inclusion: embrace all people and ideas. Growth: to have increasing influence. Excellence: to consistently exceed expectations. Our core values couldn't be more in line with the things that we expect from all of us today. I think there's times where you start to find yourself aligned with groups that are like-minded and trying to do the right things. I had never really looked at core values and thought, oh, that's brilliant. But this is one of the few times where I looked at core values of a company and thought, this is pretty appropriate. So other than that, I would say that just to piggyback on the base camp and what Elias is doing, all of your managers are working really, really hard to be able to put out content and educational pieces to make sure that you guys are able to sort of get in the flow again. Check in as much as you can. Don't isolate yourselves. If you've got free time when these trainings are up, always join it. Even if you've got to leave early, you may pick up one or two great ideas, but we're doing this together. There's not 10 separate offices. There's one Reliance partner. So make sure that you're plugging in as often as you can, because your managers are working really hard for you guys.
All right, with that, again, just if anything, what you take out of it, please get out there and listen, open your ears, try to pick one idea, one thought, one person that you're going to allow to enter your head today that's different what you previously thought. Open your mind to that and see what comes of that and see what comes of those relationships. Stay strong and just have a great week. We love you guys all. And we appreciate everybody being on the call today. Thank you, guys.
Love you guys.